What's going on, guys? Bflattened here with a brand new build video today. This is going to be Rakk, Fl4k, Nova Flak. So let's just get right into it, shall we? We're going to go with skills, and we're going to go with display, and then we're going to go in with weapons, gear, and all that jazz. So we'll start off with the green tree. This is going to be more support and utility more than anything. So we have Furious Attack. Every single time we shoot an enemy, we gain a stack of Furious Attack. We max this out so that we can have the gun damage and so that we can have pet damage all rolling in together every time we shoot an enemy. We have a max out of Eager to Impress, and we also get 1 point from our class mod. Whenever Flak kills an enemy, the action skill cooldown time is reduced. This is super important because action skill is very, very important with this build, and you'll see why in just a second. Whenever Flak's pet kills an enemy, your cooldown time is reduced even further, which is perfect. And then, like the wounds, in case we blow ourselves up or in case our grenade kills us, we have a second chance of our pet coming to revive us, and also our pet gets 30% damage for doing so for an entire minute. Okay, so getting into the blue tree, we have Ferocity, some pet damage. Persistent Hunter for gun damage and action skill duration. The gun damage is probably the more super important thing here. Go for the Eyes. Whenever Flak's pet hits an enemy, it is crit damage and does increased damage, which is great. Frenzy is going to be stacks of damage. Whenever Flak's pet deals damage, Flak and their pet gain a stack of Frenzy, which is more damage. He Bites is great because He Bites is a good reflection skill. It's also used for Anathema in the Guardian takedown. He Bites also procs Frenzy, which is great so that you can get your Frenzy stacks even faster. All around good interaction between these two. Who Rescued Who? Whenever Flak's pet deals damage, Flak regenerates health. We don't really need that, but the conversion to the pet health is actually pretty important. Psycho Head on a Stick is great. Whenever Flak kills an enemy, their pet gains increased movement speed and damage. Barbaric Yacht for pet bonuses. You'll see why this is important in just a second. And Pack Tactics, which is pet and Flak damage, go up by 21%, and our HP goes up by 15%. We just need this for the damage. The HP isn't really necessary because of the type of build that we're running here. Into the red tree, Interplanetary Stalker, we have this 9 out of 5 because we have 4 points from our class mod and max out of 5 points. This is going to be damage per stack, and you can get a bunch of stacks rolling with it. Whenever you kill an enemy, you gain a stack of it, and yeah, the damage and the pet damage are probably the most important out of here. Leave No Trace. Whenever you score a crit, there's a chance for an ammo to be added back to the magazine size. Always a good all-round skill to have. Head Count. This is another cooldown skill. Whenever we score a crit, we get cooldown. This is going to tie in with Eager to Impress, so we can get faster rack spams. Hunter's Eye. Whenever you get different enemies that you're fighting, you get bonuses against them. Big Game. Flak's Hunter skills become more effective and have a longer duration. Most Dangerous Game, which is a kill skill. Whenever you kill a badass or stronger, you get crit, gun, and handling for a long time. And this is going to be super important for the gun damage and the crit damage. Pet damage is pretty cool as well, but it's not overly necessary. Lasts for 2 minutes. Grim Harvest, gun damage and action skill damage. This is super important for your rack attack, because this is where a lot of your damage is going to be coming from your racks. So Grim Harvest, definitely max out all the time. Galactic Shadow, you get increased crit damage, and you also get a lot of aggro removed from yourself, and it goes towards your pet a little bit more. And of course, Megavore, you have a 20% chance to score a crit with any weapon against any part of enemies. Our augments today are going to be Rakk Open a Cold One for cryo damage, and you'll see why this is important very shortly. And also Rakk Accelerate for increased cooldown and having an additional charge for free. So we get 3 charges, and we also get increased cooldown rate, which is also going to work with head count, and it's also going to work with Eager to Impress. Having as many rack spams as you have as quickly as possible, super important. Okay, so let's get into our gear for today. our main weapons is actually going to be the prompt critical on our sticky version. And the reason why this is important is because you need the stickies to attach to enemies so that your racks proc Groundbreaker. Now when your racks are going to be swinging in, as long as you're holding this weapon, we're going to be under 50% of our HP at all times to deal 150% bonus radiation. Having this weapon in our hand, our racks are actually going to proc that for us. We're also going to be doing Groundbreaker every 5 seconds because that's the cooldown. And with Rakk open a cold one, our racks are dealing cryo damage while our anoint is dealing radiation damage. So we have two of the most neutral elements in the game swinging at the same time. Now, Bloodstarved Beasts, these are not really that important, but they are here, and you do have URAD versions of them so that you can have the same ability proccing off of each other, which is great. If you want something that needs a little bit of a faster fire rate, a lot of our gun damage skills are still going to be here, so there's a good core and foundation, so you still can use that without having to utilize off a gimmick. Frozen Heart, we don't actually need the healing off this because of the build that we're going with. However, the Frozen Heart is great because whenever we activate our racks, with the action still start, we're automatically going to be triggering a really large Nova because the Frozen Heart has such long extended reach. To put it in an example in perspective, I could be standing on a plate of one of the crystals in the Guardian phase. If a Guardian moves like 5 feet out from his spawn, you can hit it with the Frozen Heart and you can freeze them all right in the like beginning area and they won't pressure you at all. The Frozen Heart's range and the Cryo Nova to freeze the enemies is the most important part about this. The healing has no difference whatsoever. We have the new class mod, the Peregrine class mod, or Peregrine, whatever you want to call it. I can't pronounce it. Whenever Fl4k Rakk hits an enemy, you drop a free grenade and it has a very short cooldown. So every 5 seconds, whenever a Rakk will hit an enemy, you will drop a free grenade of whatever grenade mod you're using. This is great for a few different reasons, and I'll show you why in just a second once we get to our grenade. Our passives here are splash damage, action skill damage, and weapon damage. Now the splash damage is going to work off of your racks. The action skill damage, also your racks, and weapon damage, whatever weapon you're holding, and whatever weapon we're using. Perfect passives here. And the 4-1 split is also really good. This thing cannot roll in a +5 to my knowledge as of right now. I don't know if that's going to change later on, but as of right now, from my knowledge, you can't roll a +5 in anything. So this 4-1 split is probably the most optimal that you can get. So we're going to be using a fish slap, and there's a bunch of different fish slaps if you want to play around with different elements and things like that. Radiation is the most important because radiation is going to work off of some of our artifacts that we're going to be using. And also on action skill N, you get bonus corrosion damage, which is great because that's another element, because it's going to be working with our pet that we were talking about a little bit earlier. You get 30% elemental damage per element that you're swinging for. So right now we're swinging for cryo, we're swinging for radiation, and we're swinging for corrosion on action skill N because of our grenade. 3 different elements, 90% damage off of that, and that's not including on top of the 150% radiation that we're doing just for holding the weapon. So that is a lot of damage swinging in for a very short amount of time, and all you have to do is activate your racks. So the Icebreaker Deathless. Now you're probably wondering why Icebreaker, why Deathless? So here we have ourselves the Icebreaker Deathless. Now you're probably wondering why Icebreaker and why Deathless, and let me answer that, both of those questions. So why Icebreaker? The Frozen Heart is going to be freezing enemies for us, and also Rakk Accelerate, or Rakk Open a Cold One, sorry, is also doing cryo damage. We have 2 different sources of cryo damage coming in, which means that the frozen targets are going to be taking increased damage from all of our sources. So because we get 45% extra damage against frozen targets, the freezing is going to come first. So whenever we activate our racks, let me show you. Whenever we activate our racks, the explosion goes off first, and then our racks are summoned. So we're freezing all of our targets first in our area and in our surrounding areas, and then the racks are coming in for the cryo damage. So we're going to be doing 45% extra damage with every single rack that's going to hit a frozen target, on top of, you know, our passives of splash damage, our action skill damage, and then Grim Harvest is going to follow on top of that with action skill damage of 50%. That's a lot of damage swinging through just for causing a Nova and just for activating our action skill. A lot of damage is swinging through. Super duper important. Now we're also doing bonus radiation damage on top of this with the passive. So with the radiation damage, that's going on top of our elemental damage from our pet, is going on top of our radiation damage from holding this weapon, and it's also going to be getting an additional 24% just for having this equipped. The area of effect damage is going to be Novas, of course. The Novas are going to be increasing in damage, and because of the large spread of the Frozen Heart, that damage is going to be on top of everything else that we just mentioned. Mag size is going to be for whatever weapon that we're using and shooting. It's a great passive. If you don't want to use this, there is other options to use as well. The Atom Bomb Deathless, because we're doing a lot of radiation damage, we can cause a bigger explosion with the Atom Bomb. And the Spark Plug Deathless, which is going to be allowing us to plant our coil, and that coil is also going to be able to proc off a lot of our skills as well. A lot of the things that is going to be happening here is going to be things with Groundbreaker. Now, melee attacks or slam will trigger an aftershock, dealing 25% of all non-melee damage you have dealt over the last 5 seconds. Now, our grenade is a melee grenade, so because we're constantly proccing our Rakks, which is going to be our free grenade, you don't have to throw any grenades at all. Your class mod is doing that for you. The melee damage is going to be able to proc Groundbreaker multiple times because of the cooldown and because the fish slap bounces very, very slowly. We're refreshing Groundbreaker every single time that it's ready for us to proc Groundbreaker again, which is every 5 seconds. Another important thing, we talked about this last time with Malicious Melee Amara, if you watched that. Shield reboot, this one has to be on in this one. Killing an enemy triggers shield regeneration. Now, because we don't have a lot of defensive skills on this build, we don't have any self-repairing system, no all my BFFs, no healing whatsoever, and we also are health gated forcefully with our Deathless artifact. We have 1 HP at every given time. We have to constantly be spamming Rakks, we have to constantly be killing enemies, and Shield Reboot has to constantly keep proccing for us to stay alive. Alright, now that we broke down all of our skills, all of our gear, and all the important things, let's put this into practice. So the first important thing is we want to switch from impact to sticky. Sticky is very, very important to start all these interactions together. You stick a few enemies. Alright, he's going to die before I even get a chance. Stick a few enemies. Activate that. Everything's dead. Next area. Activate. Everything's dead. Trigger again. Everything's dead. These guys, they're no exception. Sometimes you don't even have to shoot your gun. You sometimes don't even have to shoot your gun. Because of everything that's happening, all the explosions and all the Novas are going to be doing all the work for you. This is just like a normal Torque sticky. You shoot it a couple times with a sticky. You plant the stickies. To activate the trigger with it, you just switch your weapon. Or you can reload. Or something can activate the stickies for you. But it's just like a normal Torque sticky. You just want to plant the stickies and let them do the work for you. So coming up to our next area, I'm going to try to show you how far the Frozen Heart can actually reach. I want to see if I can reach him. Okay, that's a little bit too far. He's dead. That guy there. The range did hit him. The range did hit that one, so that's probably the maximum range right there. Just to give you sort of an idea of how far the Frozen Heart can actually reach. Everything here. 2 activations of Rakk attack, they're all dead. They have another Rakk attack. Now see, I went down there for one reason, and this is where you have to be the most careful with this build, is whenever you drop your free grenade with your class mod, the fish slap is going to bounce around and it's going to go and drop wherever the Rakks hit. So if you're in close range like that, you have to be careful that the fish slap could possibly bounce around and kill you. This is why we have Lick the Wounds with our green tree, just in case we make a screw up like that. Find a couple stickies on him, he's dead. And everything else here is dead. So there you can see I jumped from 5,000 shield to 20,000 shield just for killing 3 enemies with my action skill. That's shield reboot proccing and giving me my shield return very, very quickly. The more that you spam your Rakks, the more you're surviving. Racks are love, racks are life. A lot of little ratchlings here. I'm surprised he lived that. Oh, he didn't live that one. Run up to the next area, you just activate racks, everything's dead. This thing doesn't matter. Now you can see that buddy system is flying around with one of our modifiers. Buddy system doesn't matter whatsoever. You don't have to shoot it, you don't have to focus on it, you don't have to do anything with that. The Novas is going to take care of buddy system for you. If I can see a buddy system in the next area, I'll show how Novas work on buddy system and why buddy system is probably the best. So there's buddy system, we activate it, buddy system's gone. Didn't have to shoot it, didn't have to target it, nothing. The Novas will take care of it for you. If you have area of effect damage, the more area of effect damage that you have, the more damage it's going to do to buddy system or anything in the surrounding area. But it'll help so that you can reach. That was just Sticky's planet on him that killed him. Poor beans. A lot of that is coming from the icebreaker. A lot of that is coming from the icebreaker, which is that extra 45% damage whenever we freeze a target. Because of eager to impress and because of head count and also because of rack seller rate, we're getting our racks back super duper quick. That way we always have a charge of rack attack ready for us whenever we go into a new area or if we're in a big fighting area. Things usually don't tend to live so that you don't ever run out of your racks. But yeah, most important thing to keep in mind is that racks are going to be your survival. If you're ever worried about that, don't shoot your gun, don't throw your nade. Activate racks. Either everything will die or you'll kill at least one thing so that you can target and activate shield reboot so that you can get some more shield regen to you. Everything here, no worries. Couple million damage per. That thing's dead. This guy, dead. Not really any struggle whatsoever. See, that's another thing I forgot to mention, and that's a perfect example. Is whenever you have a really large area of effect damage or radius or anything like that, whichever you decide to choose with your artifact, you can activate barrels. You definitely will activate barrels, and barrels are most likely going to kill you. I think that's the number one thing to actually worry about is barrels. We'll do a quick little kill on our friend Shront here since we're here. Don't have to throw a nade, don't have to worry about anything, just racks. Racks hit. Wait a couple seconds for Groundbreaker, trigger that, throw in racks, and he's dead. Didn't go down once, didn't have to fight any mobs, didn't have to trigger shield reboot, we just ran him over with racks and we pulled one Groundbreaker on him for big damage, and that's that. I think that's going to call the build there. I think I explained everything and ran everything over. As always, if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll do my best to help. Thank you all so much for watching, guys. My name is Bflattened, and I'm signing on out of here. Laters.